viewers, this is Dalton from Jet Black Diesel. It's our first video. Today we're working on a 5.9 Cummins 2001, 160,000 miles, and we're going to put a power steering pump in. So what we've got done so far is we've taken this intercooler tube out. Looks like this. Pretty self-explanatory getting that out. You got your fitting up here that's going to go, and you're going to have a clamp here and the clamp on the bottom. 12 millimeter nuts on there, deep well. Here's your pump down here, as you can see. This blue line right here is for our Air Dog lift pump. If you don't have one on your early Cummins, I would recommend doing that because the pumps are known to be bad, and you will smoke your high pressure pump. So if you can see down here, I don't know if you can or not. Let me grab a light to make this a little easier so you guys can see. I'm going to pop this fuel line off. I'm not sure if you can see it, but let me get that road there. Just want that go there. Okay. Let that drain out of there. And then you have 4 15 millimeter bolts, if you can see them down in there. Right there. The 2 on the back, and there's one way back in the back that if you have a lift, it's going to make it a lot nicer to get to that one. You're going to need a knuckle. A shallow socket will work. You're going to need a knuckle and a long extension to extend out through the front because you can't get your ratchet in there. And once you get those crack loose, spin those off and move to the back. Here's a close-up of your 4 15 millimeter bolts. These aren't too bad to get to. You can get to these from the top, this one there, and that one down there. You can see that one back in there. I've actually got my socket and knuckle on there. Get the shadow out of there. Right back in there. And that's going to extend out to the front. I can show you that. Got your long extension that'll come out by this wiring harness, and you can crack it loose with that. And the other ones you can get to pretty easily if you just have your deep well. We got the truck up on the lift now. I was just going to show you how we got that in there. We kind of went through, there's a little spot in there you can get an extension through between that wiring harness there and front of the block. So you can kind of see up in there what I got going on too. There's my socket with my swivel. So, and it's that back top one up in there, and these other ones on the bottom there ain't too bad. That one we got off already, and we'll take that little nut off there too. Okay, so we've got the nuts off the bolts here. I thought I'd grab this dowel stick to kind of point them out. Here's your bottom one. You can get that out with a shallow 15. Here's that one, that top stud there on the back left. If you're looking at the pump from the bottom, that's one you're going to need your knuckle. And this other side here, here's your bottom stud, and the top one, the stud will actually come out with it. If you can see it, right up there. So that stud will come out with it. So I just thought I'd show you the. Just kind of giving you a status update here. We got the pump, got the bolts and nuts and stuff off like you saw. Just kind of showing you the pump here now. What we had to do, the one that runs this is the tube that goes to your Hydro Boost. We had to cut this actually to get this clamp off because it's on there so tight. So once you get that one off, you can actually pull your pump out, get it up where you can kind of work on it. Then we're taking your hard line off right here. It's an 18 millimeter, and then put a wrench on this. This nut, this threads out of this. This does not thread out of the pump. That's just a wrench point where you can counteract what you're doing to get that fitting off. So we had to cut. That's the one we cut off. That's the one that goes to your Hydro Boost, and we're gonna try and get that clip off there next. So just giving you a status. We got our pump out here. Here's your high pressure line. Here's your other high pressure line. We did have to cut your other. Here's your low pressure. You got to cut them because they got such a big end there. Just put a little slice in them and tug down on it, and it will come off. So there's your mount where it bolts into for your pump. Your lines run up to your Hydro Boost here. Here's your hard line. So yeah, we're gonna get that new pump fitted up, and we're gonna reinstall. What you gotta do here to set up this new pump is take an 18mm. I'd use an impact just so you don't have to fight it. But back those two out, back those two plugs out, and they thread right in there. So, and then that's where your hardline fitting goes into. So nothing goes into there. But then take your caps off and ready to go back in and reinstall. Pump kit. You're gonna get a O-ring that comes and it goes on your hardline fitting right on the end where your screw adjuster ends. There's an O-ring that sits right around there on that lip. So just take like a little sideways pick or something and pick it out of there. Get it off there and just slide your new one on. Kind of a little bugger because it's stiff, but we're just changing over our plugs here to our new pump. There's no O-rings or anything on these, so you ain't got to worry about nothing there. I wouldn't worry about putting thread tape on them or anything. They're going to seal down there alright. So I wouldn't recommend impacting them in just to make sure they go in alright. Just take your hand ratchet and tighten them up on there. Get them snug, but nothing, don't go crazy on it. And your plugs are in, ready to get put back in the truck. Before you go put that new pump in, there's those 4 studs that screw in there. Before you go put your new pump in, make sure that these studs are out, because you got to have this sitting in there. It's got to line up in that housing, and it just makes it easier if those studs aren't in there. And then once you get it set in there, you should be able to thread those studs back in, all 4 of them from the top, if you're coming in from the top of the motor. And then another memo, this fitting, before you get your pump, kind of waste your time doing that and have this fitting be wrong. Make sure you check, because if this fitting's wrong, you take this plug from your old pump and put it in your new one, and you get this O-ring that'll go in there, not inside, but before you thread this in, if you have to put that new fitting on there. So just something you want to check before you take the time to throw that new pump in there. Alright, so we do have the new pump back in. It's finished up. We flushed the system, got the intercooler tube back on. When you go to flush the system, this hose right here, just directly by the cap there, actually take that off, and it runs down here to your actual power steering like drive. So leave that on down there, but keep it off down here and just run this hose down through the frame and into like an oil pan or whatever, and put fluid in the pump and just kind of run the vehicle, run the truck, and rotate your wheels to kind of flush the system, getting all the bad stuff out of there. And then when you get flushed, maybe run a quart and a half through it, put this hose back on and fill your pump, and you should be good. There might be some air bubbles in it or whatever as it's working through, but it'll all work out. So yeah, there's the completed pump. We put hose clamps on the end of these because the clamps they had on there before, just since we had to cut the line and a little shorter, you don't have quite as much play, so we put just regular old hose clamps on it. It's going to hold it a little tighter than those other clamps, and getting them on there is kind of a pain. So just the regular hose clamps makes it a lot easier on you.